The deadlift is arguably one of the kings of the gym. Almost no other exercise will incorporate as many muscles and will be the lift that you can lift as much weight in as the deadlift. However, is it really necessary for everyone? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video. Get everyone, and welcome back to Powersthetics Fitness, helping you build your body to both look and perform at its best. In today's video, we're going to be looking at if the deadlift is a necessity for your training goals and what you can use as a replacement if you can't do them. To start off with, is the deadlift necessary for strength? And the answer is very likely yes. It is one of the best exercises for building up the posterior chain and the lower body. It is often used in powerlifting, strongman, and is likely the exercise you'll be able to lift the most amount of weight with. Therefore, it is a very important exercise when it comes to strength. Next up is whether the deadlift is necessary for hypertrophy. And I'm not sure whether this is a very hot take or not, but I actually don't think the deadlift is that important when it comes to hypertrophy. While it does incorporate a lot of muscles in the body, I often find that it may not be as optimal for many of them. If you want to build up big hamstrings and glutes, you're very likely much better going with either the hip thrust or the remaining deadlift. If you want to build up a big back, pull-ups and bent over rows are far superior in my opinion. However, if you can only do one exercise, it does encapsulate a lot of them. However, when it comes to hypertrophy, I do not think it is as optimal as those other options. Next up, is it good for endurance? And the answer is very likely not. It is a very technical lift and one which is better for using high amount of loads and low reps. Therefore, your form is likely to break down over time and therefore may not be as optimal for endurance-based training. And therefore, it's better to choose an exercise that may have less consequences if form breaks down. Next up is going to be, is the deadlift necessary for power? And the answer is very likely not. You're better off doing things like power cleans and clean pulls for building up hinge-based power, as the deadlift is very much more for raw strength, even though it can definitely be a good accessory movement for these areas. So as we've covered, the deadlift is mostly best for strength-based training. However, what's the alternative if you have an injury or you don't have the right amount of equipment? If you have an injury, which more often than not will be related to your lower back, you're much better off doing a hip thrust, as this puts a lot less pressure on your lower back but allows you to overload that hinge-based area. If you do not have the right equipment, likely being you don't have enough weight or you don't have access to a barbell, you can easily do single leg RDLs, as this will also hit the glutes, the hamstrings, and the lower back. You won't be able to load it as much, however it is a good option if you do not have access to a full gym setup. So the bottom line, is the deadlift necessary? I'm going to have to say probably not. It isn't necessary in my opinion for hypertrophy, power, and endurance, and you can definitely find ways around it if you have either an injury or do not have adequate equipment. However, that's not saying the exercise is bad. It's a great exercise if you can perform it and you don't have any nagging injuries. However, there are definitely ways around it, and therefore, if it comes to necessity, there are definitely ways around it, and therefore I wouldn't call it a necessity. But let me know what you guys think. And there we have it. If you found this video helpful, be sure to drop a like. If you've got any questions regarding anything you saw in this video, be sure to comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you want your own program where I break everything down for you, be sure to check them out in the website, link in the description down below.